What's up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to episode number 1 of Good for the Soul. I'm just here to talk Jiu-Jitsu, get people excited about Jiu-Jitsu, as well as explore anything else good for the soul. Today, got on my homie Greg Anderson. He's the owner of Electric North Jiujitsu. He was a former Army Ranger. He's the host of Endless Endeavor podcast. He also runs Guns and Gis. I mean, he's done a bunch of cool things. He was a police officer. His viral video went out a couple years back talking about lockdowns and how police officers should be following the rules and not taking advantage of people's civil liberties, things like that. And so he lives fairly close to I, and that's how him and I met. I saw the video, ended up hearing his podcast, and I was like, you know what? He's one of the few academies in the Seattle area open, so I'm gonna go train with this guy. And that's how we became homies, because Jiu-Jitsu connects people and makes long-term friendships out of some really cool situations. So he was kind enough to take his time after training to sit down and be the inaugural episode with me and help me launch this project. So couple things for you guys. One, bear with me. The first couple episodes, I'm getting my bearing on talking in front of a camera for the first time and putting myself out there in this sense. So that first interview, where granted he's doing most of the talking, he's a professional at this, so I appreciate his time and to work with me on that. So also, yeah, bear with me as I catch the groove around episode 3, 4. I really found the groove of how this stuff works and started to let my nerves settle a little bit. Yeah, again, I just want to give a shout out to my brother and friends and family who kind of pushed me to do this. You know, my brother was telling me, hey, you're gonna go on this trip anyway, exploring the country, living that van life, share it with the world. Like, people want to hear what you have to say, or share the experiences. Not that I am arrogant enough to think that I have something profound to say, but I'm just sharing my experience. So thank you to my brother Josh. He's the man. My mom and Sean as well for supporting me. They're awesome. And yeah, and then biggest thing that I now get to announce with you guys, I am now a Jocko Fuel and Origin sponsored athlete affiliate. The correct terminology, I'm still trying to figure out how to phrase it properly, because yeah, I told them about the project I'm doing. They liked it. Yeah, so they decided to give me affiliation. I'm super stoked to be working with them. I've been using their products since I heard about it. I have one of their Origin gis from 5 or 6 years ago. It's great stuff. So on the training side, right, their gis and rash guards are amazing. Coolest thing ever, dirt to shirt, right? So the cotton is grown here in the United States. So it's all 100% American made, sewn in the factories out in Maine. So if you check out originusa.com, you can go check out, again, their gis, rash guards, awesome products. I've been using them forever and I love it. So also in the description below, I'll put the links for everything. At checkout, use the code Good for the Soul. And then on the Jocko Fuel side of things, I mean, joint warfare, which is, you know, turmeric or cumin, a bunch of things mixed in there, and then Jocko Goes, like all that stuff, the supplements, the vitamin D3, which here up in the North Seattle area I've been using for years, because, you know, we get that seasonal depression because of lack of sun. So that vitamin D3 helps a lot, and it's an awesome product. It's American made. I love it. So I'm super stoked to be working with them. It's a great way you can support me along my journey, as well as support yourself, because you're just getting some awesome stuff. So yeah, I appreciate you guys. Yeah, here comes the first episode. Check it out. Yeah, on their own.
But bro, Matt's rolling's done at 7:30, and I'm usually not locking the door till 8:30.
Yeah.
And I'll fucking wait to clean the mats, because there's 6 groups of people, and you fucking like kind of eavesdrop a little bit, like, what are they talking about? 1 or 2 of them are like asking about specifics of jiu-jitsu. Then everyone else is like, dude, today at work, or community, my kids, man. And it's like, dude, people are fucking using this room to talk about all kinds of different aspects of their life, fucking bounce ideas off of people, maybe fucking like vent about like relationship problems. All that shit is done on the mats, and people that don't have this outlet, bro, dude, they don't know what they're missing.
Yeah, it's crazy.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean, that's a great lead into things that are good for the soul. So guys, today is episode 1 of Good for the Soul. We're talking Jiu-Jitsu today, right? Because Jiu-Jitsu is good for the soul. So today I'm at Electric North Jiujitsu up here in Lake Stevens, Washington, with the one and only Greg Anderson. Greg, thank you for having me up here. Always a pleasure training, man.
Bro, my house is your house.
yeah, it's been a good start. We've been friends for about a year now. You know, your video went viral.
I heard the calling. You and Ivan have known each other for a while, so cross training in jiu-jitsu is important. So I'm starting off with you because we're fucking homies now.
Yeah, that's cool. Well, dude, it's a perfect segue then, because like this is something that I'm trying to bring to this jiu-jitsu community of the Pacific Northwest. Is a lot of jiu-jitsu culture is kind of like, this is my house and this is my team. Because we're Team Checkmat. I'm under Joe Cis. Like, I have my team, I have my lineage, and I'm proud of that and I love that. But at the same time, everybody has their team. Everyone has their lineage. Right. And bro, fucking Checkmat, Alliance, Autos, Gracie Baja, like, dude, we're all jiu-jitsu.
Correct.
And once you start to embrace the fact that like the jiu-jitsu community is small, so instead of being like, man, fuck those guys, or they're a Creonche, or he wanted to train with us, but now he wants to train with them. It's like, it's easy to lose focus and lose sight on what jiu-jitsu is supposed to bring to you.
Absolutely.
And so, dude, I have people that have memberships at this gym and another gym. And people are like, hey, is that okay? And I'm like, well, you're a 40-year-old man, and you can spend your money wherever the fuck you want. And if you'd like to spend your Monday and Wednesday night with us and this team, you're welcome to do that. Right. And what I've found is by having a welcoming environment and not getting caught up in any of the jiu-jitsu politics, man, I got gyms right up the street. There's gyms in Everett, there's gyms in Arlington, and we're all friends.
I love that.
All the black belts know each other. There's no drama between us. And it's like, I look at it like this, bro. Between your family and your profession and fucking politics and COVID and all the shit that is just beating us down day in and day out with stress, we got to get away from that on the mats.
Absolutely.
And that's what jiu-jitsu is supposed to be.
Well, I think you said something super important, which is a great segue into, why I asked you to sit down with me today. As I'm about to go into this jiu-jitsu sabbatical, being welcoming, right? We want to get more people into jiu-jitsu, right? I believe jiu-jitsu can help change the world in a real sense. Like, we know it's changed our lives tremendously, and it's funny because you can only talk to people so many times, in the real world, right?
Yeah.
All of my friends, before I started training jiu-jitsu, as I started doing it, they're like, Vic, I'm not gonna try it, leave me be. You know what I mean? So hopefully this will entice and excite people. They'll see the passion, they'll hear the reasons of why lots of jiu-jitsu practitioners across the country train jiu-jitsu. So you ready to get into it?
Yeah, let's get into it,
All right, man.
Well, let me say one thing before we get into it, because I like to talk. But as far as trying jiu-jitsu, like, I have yet to meet the person that gave jiu-jitsu 3 months or 6 months of their life, and then after that, they're like, fuck, I regret it. I regret giving that time to jiu-jitsu.
I don't know. I've never heard that story.
I would have been better served doing this or that. Like, there's not one person I've ever met that has dedicated a portion of their life to jiu-jitsu and then regretted it. And that's because what you're going to find is the life lessons and the skills and the resiliency and the problem solving ability and being able to deal with anxiety, like all the stuff that you learn on the mats applies to your life off the mats too. And as soon as you start drawing that correlation, you're like, oh, I'm a better husband because of jiu-jitsu.
Absolutely.
Or I'm more productive at work because of jiu-jitsu. Or me and my kids now have something that we share together because of jiu-jitsu. It's like, there's so many different facets of life.
So hang on, because this goes to the first question. Right? We're gonna answer them before I can ask them, right? So the first question is, do you love jiu-jitsu?
Of course. I mean,
good.
It's jiu-jitsu.
Right? And people define love differently, right? So it's like, hey, what's your relationship with jiu-jitsu?
I'll tell you, man, like, I look at jiu-jitsu as like a real relationship. I almost look at jiu-jitsu as like an entity sometimes, because there's times when I'm angry at jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
Me and jiu-jitsu are on the outs. Like, we have some shit.
You and jiu-jitsu have been bickering a little bit. Yep.
and bro, like, there's a saying, it's like, do what you love and you'll never work a day in your life. And that resonated with me. And that's something that a lot of people, they hear that and they're like, yeah, dude, like, let's start a fucking band, or let's start a gym, or let's pursue something that's based in passion as opposed to what most people do professionally. They pursue a career in order to make money and pay their bills. But what I found is, when your passion is what feeds your family and what pays your bills, you start to find like you and that passion are at odds sometimes.
I love that.
Because it's like, bro, I've dedicated 20 years to jiu-jitsu and I'm having a hard time paying my mortgage this month. What the fuck?
Right.
And like, what I found is I started to resent jiu-jitsu a little bit because I was giving everything I had dude, my heart and soul were put into this academy, and it wouldn't quite work. It wouldn't quite work, and I was going into debt. And it's like everybody.
Well, hang on, real quick. The reason I said I love that portion is because you're sharing the negative that people like. I love this thing and it's always all positive. It's like, no, because you're still here.
Yeah.
We had a great day after this turmoil that you're describing right now. Like, you still love jiu-jitsu and you're here training it. You know what I mean?
And that's why I say jiu-jitsu is like a relationship, because if you think that the good aspects of your life, the things that add value to your life, are always going to be great, you're always going to feel good fucking luck.
Right.
You're telling yourself a lie, right?
Yep.
So you have to understand that, like, jiu-jitsu is like anything else. It takes a long time. It takes commitment. It takes being on that daily grind to where you show up, even if you don't feel like it. And sometimes it beats you down. But what you find is if you nurture things long enough, it's just the fucking rule of the universe.
Right.
Eventually, it's going to give back to you.
It is.
And this gym, I mean, we opened in 2015, and I would say 2020, we blew up.
Right.
You know? And we blew up because of several different things. But one reason that we blew up is I matured on the mats.
Interesting.
And instead of me focusing on trying to be a fucking killer and trying to fucking smash everybody and develop a team of guys that are just fucking world beaters.
I've heard you talk about that before, but what was the catalyst to have you change that mindset?
So I'll tell you, me and Joao went to Coeur d'Alene to teach a seminar, and it's a 5-hour drive back. And Joao is one of the best in the world, and I grew up under him, and him and I was about to say we beat the fuck out of each other. He beats the fuck out of me, right? But what we found is it's just always hammering, right? And his gym, from a financial standpoint, was also failing. And my gym, from a financial standpoint, was also failing. And we were talking, we're like, dude, we don't want to sell watered down jiu-jitsu.
Right.
Because that's what happens to all martial arts, is you start chasing the dollar instead of the art.
Turns into what karate turned into after 50
karate
years.
and taekwondo.
Yep.
But then we're like, but if you only cater to dudes that are 5% body fat that are chasing world titles or fucking MMA fights, that doesn't sustain your business.
Right. So this transitions to the second question, right?
So one more thing on that though. Not only does it not sustain the business of jiu-jitsu, but what we found is you're actually neglecting a lot of people, because you got your overweight soccer mom whose kid's in class and is like, could I try that?
Right.
She absolutely could. But we need to create an environment that's welcoming for her to try it. Or we're on the Pacific Northwest, so we're surrounded by big tech guys and Amazon and Microsoft, Boeing's here. We have a lot of people that maybe they didn't grow up as athletes. Maybe they're not just hardwired killers, but they want to know what jiu-jitsu's about.
Right.
So you have to create an environment that is realistic training. It's hard training. We're on the grind. We're getting good, but we're also creating a community that we're here to show jiu-jitsu to whoever wants to learn it.
Right.
And bro, you see the proof's in the pudding now. We have all walks of life in here now.
I think there's 30 white belts in class tonight. Every time I walk up here, it's a little more packed. It's a beautiful thing, even from a year ago when I was training here. You know,
bro,
so this is great.
If you want to come here and fight to the death, we got our handful of guys that can fight to the death.
We can do that.
Yeah. Or you can, take this young lady that has only been here a month and give her some of your jiu-jitsu.
Absolutely.
And what I've found is, for the first time in a long time, jiu-jitsu is more rewarding for me as a coach to give to other people and watch them grow instead of focusing on how fucking good I can be.
Cool. That's beautiful. Yeah. And I think that's a great transition, and you may have partially answered it leading into, we know you love jiu-jitsu now. What does jiu-jitsu mean to you?
Bro, it's, for me, jiu-jitsu, and I mean, this sounds dramatic to say, but jiu-jitsu has really created my identity of who I am as a man. And I mean, I have a background in like special operations. I was deployed to combat on 14 different occasions. Like, I know what it takes to be hard. I know what it takes to put your ass on the line. I know what it takes to face danger and overcome adversity. And I did a lot of that stuff as a young man. But this is the thing that people don't realize, is that the ability to be resilient is a perishable skill.
Correct.
So when I was a 23-year-old Army Ranger, yeah, I felt like I figured out how to be hard and be tough and face adversity. But I'm 41 now. That's 20 years ago. I can't look back and say, that's who I was, because what you find is it's the fucking Uncle Rico Napoleon Dynamite.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? It's like, if Coach would have put me in.
Yep.
What jiu-jitsu has done to me is it's helped me consistently stay on the path. Because I started jiu-jitsu when I was I went all in with jiu-jitsu when I was 22. All right. So, I mean, I was a fucking old man compared to like a lot of the kids starting today. But what jiu-jitsu's allowed me to do throughout my entire adult life is just keep you sharp. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, absolutely.
And day in and day out, you show up, you do the grind, you roll with the guys, and it's allowed me to be a person that I'm proud of. It's allowed me to be a person that's resilient. It's allowed me to be a person that's capable of problem solving. And I say it all the time. If someone came up the stairwell right now with a briefcase with $10 million cash and said, take this fucking suitcase, but you're going to be a white belt, and tomorrow you're starting jiu-jitsu as day one, I'd throw the money out the window. My jiu-jitsu doesn't have a fucking price on it. And it's not because I'm a black belt and I'm fucking good.
Right.
It's because what it has done for my life, both personally and professionally, you can't put a monetary amount on that, man.
Absolutely not. No, and I love that. And I think that's important for people to know. This perishable skill is why we keep coming back.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? Because if what I learned last week of class was a permanent thing, it's never going away. Like it was just downloaded from the matrix, like you wouldn't have a school. You know what I mean? And so I think it's cool to see, for people to see like, hey, there's a reason you, after however many years you've been trained now, 17 plus years, that you keep coming back to it. And many do, you know? And
that's what I told the white belts today when we did our lineup and our bow out. I'm like, the thing that I pride myself about this gym is everybody is here and we're on the grind and we're in the mix together. And it's all these different color belts from white belt to black belt, but I'm here for the same reasons that you were here. It's to slap and bump. It's to fucking face that adversity. It's to sharpen my sword and hone that edge. And every single person in here is making every other person in here better, while simultaneously they're making you better. And it's like, where can you be in a room with 40 people where the mission on everybody's mind is, I want to raise it. I want everybody to elevate.
Yes.
Because that's a rare thing in humanity. It's like the crabs in the bucket analogy. Like a lot of people, and it doesn't matter if it's your family or your office at work, it's like a lot of people want to shine a spotlight on them while making other people look bad, or trying to make yourself stand out above other people. And what you don't realize is by doing that, you're actually diminishing everybody as a whole. Jiu-jitsu, we learn how to build everybody up, man. And again, like,
and we have to, right? Because trust.
Right.
And we're putting our limbs on the line to let other people practice, right? And if you don't trust that person, right, and you think they're gonna pull on it too hard and mess your joints up and you're not gonna be able to go to work tomorrow, like, you can't have that, right? So trust is a super important part.
Well, you have to have an intimate relationship with the person that you're training with. Correct. For that very reason. And then the other side of it is, I mean, and Rogan talks about this all the time, it's like, you can't be full of shit on the mats. You know what I'm saying?
It's pure truth.
It's pure. So we slap and bump, and very, very shortly after that moment, we're going to have a good idea of who each other are as men. How, who's good where, who can take advantage of this situation, who's stronger, who's weaker, who has more mental grit, who has less mental grit. And this isn't a battle to make one person feel good and one person feel bad. But what it is it's constantly showing you, I always like to describe it like this, it's constantly showing you where you're at, but the equal and opposite reaction of that, it is showing you where you aren't.
You frequently do that to me. The last 3 weeks, and I love it, right? The last 3 weeks I've been like, damn, you smashed me today. Or last week, you pulled off the security camera. Scott, 47-year dude who's had a black belt for 20 years, judo black belt of 20 years, you know, foot sweat me, beat me up and down the mats. But I love it, right? For that reason, and keep coming back to learn.
Bro, once you're content with your shortcomings as a human being or as a man, once you're content with that and you say, okay, this person's better than me, this is where they seem to capitalize, this is where they seem to have success, now you can analyze those situations and you can say, what do I need to do to be better? And it's not like this thing that's rooted in anger or ego. It's a literal tool to figure out how to bring out a better version of you. And bro, think about that. If you can learn how to do that on the mats, I mean, who, and I'm as guilty of it as anyone, but who sits down with their wife and says like, hey, let's analyze our relationship and then let's both figure out how to be better versions of ourselves so we're better partners for each other. You know what I'm saying? Like,
I think all problems have come from that not happening.
Yeah, that's like a fucking marriage counseling fucking like epiphany, right? But we do that every single day on the mats. Every single fucking day. Yep. And so like,
which is again the point of this conversation. If my wife would start
training jiu-jitsu, we'd have the perfect relationship.
Again, she's trying to share with you guys, right? Like why jiu-jitsu means something to us and to have these experiences because it makes your life better in total, right? What happens here on the mats is it transcends all aspects of your life, you know, relationships with your spouse, your children, your parents, you know, it helps everything, right? So this leads into the next question for me is, do you know where your love for jiu-jitsu came from? Was there a specific moment where you had that aha moment or was it gradual over time?
No, it's seared into my fucking brain.
Okay.
I have PTSD attached to this moment.
Okay.
But no, so I mean, again, I was an Army Ranger. I was in my early 20s, fit as fuck, strong as fuck, fast, thought that like I was a tough man.
Yeah.
You know? And I was deployed to Ramadi, Iraq. And I was on this small base called Blue Diamond. And this guy that was also deployed, he was a Navy SEAL. And he's like, hey, bro, do you want to get some training in tonight? And I was like, yeah, I'm all, yeah, let's work out. You know what I mean? Like, what do you do? He goes, no, I do jiu-jitsu and Muay Thai. I was like, okay, so he's some dorky martial artist. So we're going to fight. Let's fight.
You're going to get in the dojo. Like,
yeah. And I was like, dude, I've fucking been in a million fights. But what I realized is fighting drunk scrubs at the bar versus, and he was a purple belt at the time.
Oh, in 2003?
Yeah.
Damn.
So
but pre-social media.
That's what I'm saying.
Right,
bro.
That's a legit
like,
purple belt.
And I was 220 at the time, and he was 170. But he was built like GSP. Okay. He was a 170.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
He was a
shredded.
He's a unit, right?
Yep.
But at the same time, I thought like, well, dude, I'm a big, strong athlete too. And so when a fucking person that doesn't train locks up with a purple belt who also does Muay Thai, and we were doing an MMA round, so he had fucking leg kick, and he could go like pop pop pop. He could.
By the way, this is not how you should start your entry into jiu-jitsu. This is his experience, to be clear.
And bro, he'd kick my leg so hard that I couldn't stand on it, and then he'd shoot a double and dump me on my head and just fucking mount me and rip my arm off, and I was like, what?
Yeah.
What is happening right now?
Life-changing moment.
I didn't know, and I've watched UFC and I saw that shit, but I didn't know what a trained man on top of me truly felt like until that moment. And so I was like, I told him, I said, bro, you and I are training every single day together for the rest of the deployment. And he's like, fuck yeah. Because when you're deployed, sometimes you got people to train with, sometimes you don't.
Yeah.
And so he was stoked. He's like, cool. I got a guy that's hungry to learn. And so we trained every single day for that deployment. As soon as I redeployed home, I signed up at 2 academies because I signed up at Charlie's Combat Club for MMA.
Okay.
And then a jiu-jitsu academy for like traditional gi jiu-jitsu too.
Cool.
5 days a week. And I did that for fucking years and years and years and
Found
years.
the path. I love it.
Because, dude, like, again, as a man, I have 3 small children. I have a fucking wife. And I didn't at the time, but still, you need to have a foundational level of understanding of how to defend yourself and the people around you. You have to. And what I found is knowing now that I have the ability to protect myself and my loved ones, bro, having that knowledge in my back pocket, it's such a peace of mind. Dude.
Absolutely. I mean, I believe it lets you walk around as a man with confidence that otherwise, which I remember that feeling as a young man before training. kind of being scared, right? Like there's this fear, which I didn't. Now that I'm way past that and I train, there was this thing of not knowing how to defend myself. I wasn't as confident as I am now, or should have been, because I wasn't actually capable. And so you have to put up this front, you know. So I think that's a huge thing we get from jiu-jitsu. And you and I have had to use those skills in real life before.
Of course.
Yeah.
And then here's an equal and opposite reaction to that of honing your own confidence and your own ability to where you feel like you have the ability to defend yourself or be confrontational with someone that you need to be confrontational with. The other side of the coin is the more you train, the more you realize, dude, I don't know who knows what. There's fucking guys, like I think I don't remember if it was you or someone else I was telling last week, that I used to have a training partner that fought at 135. He's a fucking bantamweight.
Damn.
And that dude would beat the shit out of me. And I was 200 pounds.
Mm-hmm. I've had those too.
And I was like, how is this little tiny man beating me up? And like, so you realize, dude, you don't know who knows what out there. And what martial arts does, you get that out in the gym, and you're a lot less likely to have an ego or be confrontational or need to prove yourself outside of the gym.
That's
Bro,
huge.
when I was 21 years old in the bar, if you even looked at me wrong, we were fighting in the alley. And the thing is, it's like, that was fun and that was cool. And I look back on those experiences thinking, dude, I was a stupid young man.
Yep.
But that also could have ended fucking terribly for me.
Very badly.
And now it's like, I don't want to fight anyone. I mean,
unless I absolutely have to, I
if
do
the
not want to.
situation presents itself and someone needs to get fucked up, I'm down to go right now, as are you.
For
you know
sure.
What I'm saying?
Absolutely.
But at the same time, as far as proving myself, I prove myself up here, and I'm proud of who I am.
And to the point of having the confidence, I will do everything I can nowadays, because we've been through those experiences, hey, the bar fights and needing to prove yourself as a young man. Hey, I'll do anything to avoid a fight. Yes, I'll be the first one to have my friend's back and jump if needed. But it's so rare and so far in between in the real life situations where we've had to defend loved ones around us. Again, very rare, but when they happen, you're happy you have the skills.
Bro, you know? I think young men just, I mean, we're fucking full of testosterone, and we need to blow off steam one way or the other. And so you can blow off your steam in the mat room with people that you care about, or you can choose a stupid path. Yeah. And the thing is like, I'm only 41, so I'm not that old, but a lot's changed in 20 years. Bro, I mean, I never heard of people fucking pulling knives or guns out when they're fighting. Yeah. And now that happens all the time. So it's like,
it is different. It's a little different.
The world's different. You need to recognize that.
For sure. Well, I love that you share with us. You know, you have that memory seared in your brain. Again, the goal being trying to draw people into jiu-jitsu. So from your perspective, like, what would be for man or woman a good way for them to make the leap into training jiu-jitsu, right? So premise, someone who's never started before, right? Maybe they heard of it, maybe they haven't. How do they go about deciding and then changing their schedule, right? Whether they have kids, they have after school activities, I mean, post work, you're doing happy hour with friends. How do you make that leap to start? So as a coach, how would you say that?
The first thing you need to do is you have to make the mental commitment. And then once you make that commitment, it has to be followed by action. Because I hear from people in day-to-day life all the time, like, I want to try jiu-jitsu. I want to try jiu-jitsu. You can say you want to try jiu-jitsu all you want, but what steps are you taking to actively try jiu-jitsu? And this is what I hear most commonly. I need to get shape first, right? Yep. And what that says to me, when you tell someone I need to get shape first, you're kicking the can down the road. I don't have to show up and step on the mat until I do this. Right. You're giving yourself an out. Okay. And so this is what I tell everyone. If you think that adding jiu-jitsu into your life will add value, then immediately, I don't care what shape you're in, I don't care what your experience level is, go seek out a couple different academies. And I even tell people that come up here, they're like, well, dude, there's another academy up the street. What do you think of that? I said, go check them out. Yeah. I like those guys. Yep. Maybe you vibe with them better, because a lot of what you're going to gain from your jiu-jitsu team, I always joke around when I say this, but it's partially true, is like 90% of what you get out of this mat room has to do with fighting. Or, did I say that right? 90% of what you gain from this mat room does not have to do with fighting.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so because what we're doing up here is more important than just arm bars and takedowns. Make sure that the people that are at the academy, that you feel like a good vibe from them, that you feel like that person has your best interest in mind, and go there and meet the coach and see if he brings positive energy to you. See if the place is clean. See if the other students are eager to look you in the eye, shake your hand, and be like, "Hey, welcome." Like,
you know, one thing I like to say about picking a jiu-jitsu gym, because at this point I've cross-trained at a lot of gyms, is it's like having a barber, right? Man or woman, you have that barber you've gone to for years.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You vibe with them, you enjoy sitting in their chair, talk to them. They're semi your therapist as well, you know what I mean? And you have that bond. Well, jiu-jitsu gyms are the same thing. If you walk in and you're not feeling it, that's okay. You know, and know that that's okay to walk away from that. You don't have to sign up that day. You can walk in, get a feel for it, watch a class. You know, there's these ways to overcome that fear. But what I like what you said, the antidote, right? Almost to the action piece. Like, how do you even get to the action? Is knowing that it's okay to be out of shape starting jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
Right? Like, that's important.
And then also know that, and I tell everybody that comes up here and inquires about a membership, I say, if you want to sign up for jiu-jitsu right now, before you even know what it feels like, commit to 90 days.
Cool.
Because 90 days of your life will be over before you fucking know it. Right?
Fast. Yep.
But if you base your commitment to jiu-jitsu based on how you feel on week 1, week 2, week 3, there's a good chance you might be like, man, fuck jiu-jitsu, dude.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's hard, it's frustrating. I can't move my hips like those guys can move their hips. I don't have the, and what you can do is you can go down those self-deprecating rabbit holes as like, well, I'm not flexible, or I don't have a good gas tank, and I can't do this. And jiu-jitsu is very frustrating for a lot of people during that preliminary phase of training.
Right.
So you need to go into it knowing, like, and I tell my new guys all the time, it's like, hey, nobody was ever good at anything out of the gates.
Right.
When you look at Buchecha on the wall, or you look at Lance Armstrong, or you look at any Cameron Haynes, any of these guys that are great at what they do, they sucked at what they did at one point in their life. And so did everybody else that's great. Michael Jordan sucked at basketball at some point in his life, right? So just because you suck and it's frustrating and your body doesn't feel like it's gaining any ability, just know that the growth in jiu-jitsu is so slow, it's slow incremental, that you need to put in a substantial amount of time before you start to have those aha moments where it's like, oh shit, I just shrimped and recovered my guard.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
The
Like,
smallest thing can get you excited.
You know?
Yeah.
And then the
the
other
first
thing
time
is
you take someone's back in jiu-jitsu.
Yeah. Or like first time you pass someone's guard, or the littlest things. And it's also going to be in relation to how good that person is, right? Like if I even got close to some type of pass with one of those fucking guys on the wall, didn't even get the pass, just almost like
Almost got close
a knee control and was able to do something like that. It's like, oh, a little bit of success.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So it's like you start to weigh your success based on the very, very slow incremental growth. And then when you get your first, like I had one of my white belts about a month ago pull me aside. He's like, I submitted a blue belt today for the first time. And dude, he waited in the parking lot and he pulled me aside. He's like, hey man, there's something I gotta tell you. And he was just grinning ear to ear. You could see like he was beaming.
I get excited hearing that. I'm like, that feeling is just,
And it's like once jiu-jitsu starts to click and you start to have success, that's when you're on the journey.
Cool.
Then I don't have to fucking talk you into jiu-jitsu anymore.
Right.
You've now bought off on it, and you'll be fucking doing it for 20 years.
Cool. No, I love that. So now we're going to hit a little bit of a 180, right? We're going to talk about some of the fun stuff of jiu-jitsu, right? Today on the mats, you train, you were healthy enough to roll, it was great. What went good for you? What went bad for you? Anything that sticks out in your mind?
I'll tell you what went bad for me. And again,
perfect.
It is not even that I even got close to being swept, right? But a white belt, Sean, who's been training with us for what, 6 months now, maybe something like that.
Maybe. Yeah.
Bro, he was in the guard position. He put his feet on my hips and he snapped my collar down and my feet went in the air.
Oh wow.
And I regained my base in a second or two and got back got good posture, and then I was okay. I was like, but dude, a white belt broke my posture down and took my base out from under me. And it all happened in a fraction of a second. And the reason why that's alarming is because it's like, if a guy knew what to do after he got my posture and my base compromised, I'm either getting dropped in a helicopter armbar or I'm getting swept or whatever, right?
Yep.
He just didn't have the skill set to then capitalize on the next step.
Yeah.
But he fucking took my base from me. And I was like, a fucking white belt took my base from
So
me.
I have this battle with myself sometimes. Do you think it was it, not to take away from anything he did or that moment, but was it the complacency of being a little bit too relaxed and then that happening and realizing, oh wow, I wasn't on guard as much as I should have?
I think, he's a phenomenal athlete.
I mean, he's almost like 6'6", 250.
He's a giant,
beast,
strong athlete.
Yeah.
And I don't want to necessarily say it like caught me from surprise, off guard or whatever, because he always rolls with a lot of aggression and a lot of athleticism. But what it did was he implemented a technique in a faster manner than I would anticipate him doing, and it worked for him.
Cool.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But then the other side of it is like I feel, you know how you feel like you get stuck in a plateau for a while?
Yeah.
Nothing changes when you get a black belt. I've been a black belt for 7 years now, and I will grow and then I'll stop, and then I'll grow and then I'll stop.
Yeah.
And I'm finally breaking through a plateau.
Cool.
I feel it.
That's good.
I feel it, bro.
That's legit.
Yeah.
That's a big feeling. We all hit
like,
those after years and years of doing,
like,
the same thing.
Yeah, it's no secret. Butterfly is like my go-to. I love butterfly guard. If I'm underneath someone, I'm putting butterfly hooks in, and I'm trying to compromise your base. And you know how it is, dude.
I mean, you just answered the next question. What is your game in? Yeah, I love that. And so why is it your game? Why is butterfly guard your go-to?
Butterfly has been my game since I was a blue belt. Okay. And what I found is, when I was a blue belt, I was doing MMA and I was doing jiu-jitsu. And for whatever reason, I think butterfly guard is the most underutilized guard in MMA. And you don't ever see it. Bro, I got an MMA fight. I'll show you where I hit a bunch of butterfly sweeps in a full contact fight.
Damn.
And it's as long as you can control their arm and their posture, like you're not in a lot of danger of getting hit. And the reason that I like butterfly is because, guys, once you really have a good understanding of your base, any type of closed guard, dude, people feel like they're just a tree trunk, or a stump. You know what I mean? Like trying to scissor sweep a guy like Scott. Good luck.
Yeah,
you know?
never happened.
But if you can, your butterfly pulls you directly underneath that person, and now if they stand or if they stay based, you can maneuver their hips around. And I'm learning these little tiny like micro adjustments to really attack people's bases. And it's like, I mean, that's why you get addicted to jiu-jitsu, right? I'm
absolutely.
20 years in or whatever, and I'm still fucking learning those little tiny tricks. And bro, like you're never gonna get them.
I love that.
You're never gonna fully understand it. That's what's so cool about it.
And it is so fun. And this is a great lead on to, when was the last eureka moment that you personally had in jiu-jitsu? Whether like you discovered something like, wow, I think I invented this, even though it's probably been out there already, but no one had showed it to you.
What was it? I just had a moment not too long ago. Fuck, I'll fuck your video up if I sit here and have.
No, I'll cut it. Fuck it.
But no, dude, it's bizarre how you can do something for so long, and then someone can be like, "Hey, dude, turn your hand over here and grab with an upside down grip." And something as simple as that changes the dynamics of the entire move, the entire position. And it's like, why didn't I think of that?
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
Like, why didn't I think of that? And so I can't think of anything specifically, but I'm still having those moments all the time.
That's great.
And now we have, I mean, when I started jiu-jitsu, you couldn't find anything on YouTube.
Right.
You know? Now you can watch fucking John Donaher teach all the little nuances.
Correct.
And I think that's why growth is exponential, because the new generation, they can be on the grind on the mats, and then they're home just downloading, studying, you know?
Plug it into the matrix. Yep.
My next goal is, it's funny, dude. Like, I always tell people, my game, my whole guard is a sweeping guard. I want to sweep you. I want to get on top of you. And then I'm going to hunt submissions with pressure once I'm on top.
Yep.
But I think being more well-rounded, and also if your guard is always threatening the submission, that's only going to open up your sweeps that much more.
Yep.
And so like Daniel can throw up a lot of danger from the bottom to it's like, oh fuck.
Yep.
You know?
Yep.
And that keeps my defense, like when I'm in Dan's guard, I'm constantly worried about getting attacked. And it's like the, you know, in fighter jets, they call it the OODA loop cycle.
Yes.
You heard of that, right?
Yep.
It's the same thing in jiu-jitsu. If I can break their OODA loop cycle, then that's when I gain the initiative.
Cool.
And I think in order to really be able to break that cycle, both from top and bottom, you need to be threatening a lot.
Cool.
You know?
I love that. I love that. Awesome, man. Going on to the next one. Best advice for a blue belt.
Bro, like blue belt, in my opinion, is you've shown that you're committed and you've shown that you have jiu-jitsu. You've bought off on what we're doing. Mm-hmm. You know, but there's still, what do they call it? Blue beltitis or whatever.
Blue belt blues.
Yeah, that people are like...
They get it and then they disappear.
And then they start to disappear and it's like... And if that's your goal, and especially like if you're a first responder, you're a police officer, and you say, hey, I'm going to commit to 18 to 24 months of training to get a blue belt, right? That's a skill set that's going to serve you for the rest of your life. Right. Are you going to be great at jiu-jitsu forever? No. But if you put a year of time in, that's going to serve you forever. But if you know that you're in it for the long haul, I would say this is the same thing I tell most belts is like, put the color of your belt on the back burner.
Yeah.
Don't even think about it. Don't even worry about it. Don't have aspirations of becoming a purple belt, because what you're doing is you're putting unnecessary pressure on yourself. Mm-hmm. And it doesn't fucking matter when you think you should be a purple belt.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like your coach, if you're training at a gym, what that tells me is you've bought off on that professor and you trust his judgment. So it's actually, you put that off on someone else. You don't have to worry about that. You don't have to stress about that. You show up, you train, you put the time in, the belts come. And that's why I only do promotions once a year.
Cool.
And part of the reason I do that is because I don't want people worried about the color of their belt. I mean, I have white belts up here that I have hard rolls with now.
Yeah, yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
For sure.
And so it's like,
yeah.
I don't care what color your belt is, dude. There's people at all belt levels that are monsters. And what you don't want is to be fixated on the color of fabric that's around your fucking waist, because you're actually diminishing the journey.
Right. It's the least important thing about
It's the least
jiu-jitsu.
important thing.
Yeah.
And trust me, there is nothing you're going to gain by fast tracking to black belt.
Yeah. Well,
you know what I'm saying?
So one of the points we were talking about earlier is, you know, the color of your belt being meaningless. Jiu-jitsu is pure truth. If you get on the mat with a blue belt and a brown belt, but the brown belt's taken 9 years off, the color belt doesn't matter. That blue belt's probably going to smash that brown belt. You know what I mean? So it's wild how blue belts can get stuck on that next level. You know?
And I always tell people like my jiu-jitsu journey was interesting because I went white through brown in less than 5 years.
Oh, wow.
And that's because I came home, I was hungry, I was training 6 days a week, I was strong, and I was a good athlete. And so because of that, and I was a big fish in a little pond. I'm in Lake Stevens, Washington, right? Mm-hmm. And so like I was starting to submit purple belts and brown belts. And so they fast-tracked me. And I'm not even saying this pejoratively. Like each coach will promote based on what they deem necessary.
But that's relatively fast in the realm of getting a brown belt.
Well, it was too fast for me. And they were even talking about promoting me to black belt at like 5.5 years. And I was like, I knew that I didn't want that, but I didn't know how bad I didn't want it. And then I moved to Los Angeles. And then Joao pumped the fucking brakes. And Joao kept me at brown belt for 5 more years.
Right.
So I didn't get my black belt until I've been doing jiu-jitsu for over 10 years.
Cool.
And that's how it's supposed to be.
Cool.
The longevity of this journey, it should be something that when you dedicate a decade of your life to something, and then you're handed a fucking black belt, that means something.
For sure.
You know, whereas if you fast track, and just because you happen to smash most guys in your gym, I don't think that's going to serve you in your jiu-jitsu journey. And one thing that Joao said to me that has always stuck with me, at my jiu-jitsu or at my black belt promotional ceremony, I didn't even know it was coming. It was just 100% surprise. Cool. And he goes, for you to get a black belt from me, you need to be a black belt in life first. Then you can be a black belt on my mats.
I like that.
And so it's like, yeah, you have to, just because you can fucking beat a bunch of people in a mat room, what are you doing for your community? How do you treat people? What kind, like, do you respect, do you treat people with respect? Do you have integrity? Do you use opportunities to uplift people, or are you a negative person? You tear people down, and it's like,
it's almost like reminding blue belts, hey, the journey is also everything else in your life, not just
exactly.
This. Yeah, cool.
And so me being a tough 25-year-old that could strangle other brown belts, that had little to do with what Joao thought is time to be a black belt. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But then the other side of the coin is once I moved to California, bro, a brown belt from Seattle at the time, I was getting eaten alive by the fucking purple belts and shit down there, to the point where I was like, I want to start, I need to start over. I suck again. But bro,
I hear you, man.
I relived that, like the story I told you about my introduction to jiu-jitsu. Mm-hmm. I relived that as a brown belt. I'll never forget it. I went to Lucas Leitch's academy.
Okay.
He's in La Habra, California. And he was teaching Berimbolo. I'd never even heard of a Berimbolo. You know what I'm saying?
I still don't know how to
and
do
so,
it. I gotta work.
So, bro, I'm a brown belt, and I'm partnered up with these 2 blue belts that are just whoop, whoop, invert, fucking go to my back, strangle. Invert, go to my back, strangle. And then I would try and do it, and I didn't understand the concept of inverting. Mm-hmm. And it's embarrassing, because it's like, dude, I'm 2 ranks above you, and I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. Yeah. You know? And so, but the other side of that coin is,
Jiu-Jitsu in SoCal is different than the rest of the world. Yeah, I mean, it's the hub.
They're the best.
They're the best of the best. So we're not going to knock you too hard on that.
Told me, he's like, dude, because people think like, no, Brazil is the best. And Bashesha's like, dude, once you've made it in the jiu-jitsu world, if you're a high enough level athlete to where jiu-jitsu is now like you're sponsored and you're winning tournaments, they're moving to California.
Right. It's SoCal.
That's where it's at, man. Yeah. But cool. the other side of that coin is like, you're also never going to know all the answers.
Right.
You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. I actually, I trained with a red belt. His name was Master Mergel. And I was a brown belt at the time. And he pulled me aside and he's like, hey, if I can impart red belt knowledge on you. He goes, the biggest...
Yes, please tell me.
He goes, the biggest thing that you can do to be a successful black belt is look your students in the eyes when they ask you a question and say, I don't know.
Cool.
He goes, because if you try and be the black belt, that you don't want to acknowledge your own shortcomings, and so you try and beat around the bush, or you try and, well, maybe you should do this. It's like, no. Give your students absolute honesty. I can show my students my strengths, and together we can work on our weaknesses. But if you don't know, give them that honesty. Yeah,
cool.
You know?
I love that. That's awesome. So I got a fun one for you. What is your favorite submission?
It's easy, bro. It's an armbar. I'm a one-trick
Okay, and now the second part of that, is that also what your training partners know as your favorite submission?
100%.
Okay.
I am
the same thing across the board.
Here's and bro, we could talk about this for the next 2 hours, because I still don't know what the best approach to jiu-jitsu is. You got guys like Gordon Ryan and Keenan Cornelius, who they have an encyclopedia of jiu-jitsu to draw from. And at any given time, they can throw up one of 200 submissions. Mm-hmm. It's very tricky. It's hard to know like where they're coming from, where they're going to attack from. And they're fucking very well respected and good grapplers. Then on the equal and opposite side of the spectrum, you got guys like Hodger Gracie, who he does not have fancy jiu-jitsu. He is going to mount you and either do a cross collar choke or an armbar. Mm-hmm. And so they're perfect. And so when you look at these 2 different approaches to jiu-jitsu, some people want to hone a wide range, a very broad spectrum of jiu-jitsu, and then other people want to be laser focused and really hone their strengths. And I would say I'm more along the Hodger approach, where I don't have tons of tools that are my go-tos, but the tools that I do have, I've polished and I'm very good at them.
I like that.
And it's like, and again, I tell my students too, I said, this is my journey. This is my approach.
Yeah.
This is what works for me. But don't ever let somebody else tell you what your jiu-jitsu should be. That's part of the fucking fun of the journey, is growing into your jiu-jitsu and finding not only what works for you, but at the end of the day, what's fun for you.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, absolutely.
And I tell people, like, dude, we don't train up here every single night because I might find myself in a self-defense altercation. You know
That's a great point you hadn't made yet.
Because the truth is, if that's all we were training for, it'd be body lock takedowns to mount, and then I'd elbow you in the head 20 times and run away.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
How we fight on the street and what we do in the gym are two different things. Now,
I accidentally mixed those one time. I was like, what am I doing? Well, I'm about to get beat up. I need to change what I'm doing in this fight right now.
But bro, it's like, it's fun to experiment with your jiu-jitsu.
Cool.
And it's fun to open up. And I was actually trying to hit a De La Riva helicopter armbar today because you were filming. I was like, oh, this is a fancy move that's fun and it looks cool when you hit it, right?
No, it's good. But you had a spazzy white belt who may have wrestled before.
He's tough. He's tough.
Tough as nails. It's like, this isn't a normal white belt.
None of my white belts.
Yeah, none of them feel normal.
You know?
No, but to your credit, you also have my neck remembers your head and arm choke. So that's also another good move you got.
It's funny. I look at, you know how each phase of your jiu-jitsu, like, what was your go-to, right? And I, again, because I was focused on no-gi grappling and MMA, white through purple, my whole purple belt was head and arm chokes.
Gotcha.
That's all I did, dude.
Okay.
So like, I don't really hunt those anymore. And even if I find the head and arm, I usually transition it to an arm bar, because you can, once you get that arm up across their neck here, you can Kimura lock it, step over the head.
Yeah.
And I like that transition. But no, it's bizarre. Like my whole brown belt phase, I fell in love with Gi Jiu-Jitsu as a brown belt because of Joao and Buchecha. And I opened up my game. Right. And I learned a lot of, like, because I started training with Checkmat. And so, like, big half guard team, big attack, Kimura attacks. And it's like, I really started to expand my Gi Jiu-Jitsu as a brown belt. But and that's another reason why the journey taking so long is fun, because you want to be able to look back on that journey and actually have meaning. And like memories and like, I look back at all these different phases of my jiu-jitsu and it's like, it's fun to reminisce.
I love that. It's interesting because similarly to your story, you, Joao, Greg Lappin, my friend Kyle Mitchell, and some guys down south have invigorated hey, you need to train in the gi. You know, because I was the same way. Hey, the last 4 years, I've only really done no gi. You know, in 2020, I think I did the gi 8 times. You know, because it was a lockdown, but it's so fun for us to wrestle, and I loved it. But hey, there's this whole other aspect of jiu-jitsu. And granted, I was talking to Lappin about this. I had been falling out of love with jiu-jitsu, so much stuff going on in my life. But you guys reinvigorated that in me to where I'm excited about it now. And I'm learning a lot of those little details that I feel like I'm playing catch up on.
Well, and the other side is you're not even 30 yet, right?
Right.
So what I've found as you get older, the gi, I believe the gi has more longevity.
Yeah.
Because it's not that just fucking frantic pace.
Right. Fast, explosive wrestling.
And I still like to get in the mix with the guys sometimes and train like that. And I feel like I try and tell myself, you still got it. You know what I mean? But the reality of it is Father Time's catching up with all of us. If you really fall in love with jiu-jitsu and you want it to be something that's in your life for a long period of time, you have to be able to differentiate, like, those fucking to the death rounds where we're in little tiny fucking the old school like Valley Tudo shorts. You know what I mean? Like,
we still do that.
Yeah, I used to do that shit, but now
can't do it every day.
I feel like I have more longevity in my jiu-jitsu knowing, like, gi jiu-jitsu, the intensity is just turned down a little bit.
Yeah.
The other side of that coin is I've fought dudes in the street with fucking coats and sweatshirts on as a police officer, you know what I mean? As a police officer for a decade. And when I would put my hands on someone, bro, people, we live in Seattle. People are wearing gis.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
And they work. You can grab someone by their shoulder, snap them down and shit. And it's like, maybe if we lived in Hawaii, no gi
a little more
more applicable, you know? All those dudes can fucking scrap too, so.
Yeah. Also, I gotta say something I just realized. We did not intentionally co-match with the mats. Right? You got your gray gi on, I've got a blue one on. Like, what? Good, but no, man, to close it out, I just want to say thank you again for always giving me a second home to train at. It's been awesome. We're homies. I appreciate it. Yeah, it's always a welcoming place, guys. So if you are out here in Lake Stevens, Washington, or the surrounding area, come train. And if you've never trained jiu-jitsu before, I urge you. This is a great place up north here. So please give it a shot. Do you have any closing thoughts?
Bro, I mean, we just ranted for an hour. So.
We did. Yeah,
we're good.
Where can people find you, and where can people find the gym info?
So the Electric North is our academy's website, and then
.com.
Yeah, theelectricnorth.com.
Okay.
And then obviously Instagram, Granderson33 is my personal one, and then Electric North Jiu-Jitsu has its own page as well. So
cool. And then again, because of the scope of this is trying to get people to start jiu-jitsu. What is if someone wants to come train jiu-jitsu here for the first step? What do? Do they email? Do they call? Do they just show up on a day with a classes schedule? What's the first step?
I have people that do all of the above, and I'm going to say this, and I'm not trying to fucking bust anyone's balls, but you can call, text, or email. Like, I'm available through all that stuff. But what I find is sometimes people overthink it, and and I'll get a text like, "Hey, I want to train tonight." Okay, cool, come train. All right, what should I wear? And so I give kind of a, like a little synopsis of what you can expect. Hey, show up 5 minutes early, bring this. But then people, and just it's the human condition to overthink shit, right? And they're like, well, I want to come today, but then I actually have to pick my kids up, and I think I might be late, and it happens all the time.
Yeah.
Where it's like, bro, I'm not your accountability partner yet, okay? Like,
yeah.
Just fucking show up.
Cool.
If you want to train, just come and show up, and you're gonna find that you'll get hooked sooner than later. Like I said, give yourself 90 days, and you're gonna you'll be digging jiu-jitsu.
Cool, man. Well, thank you again, guys. Thanks for if you've made it this long. Thanks for hanging around with the Soul Adventure. We're doing stuff that's good for the soul, and again, talking about jiu-jitsu because jiu-jitsu is good for the soul.
And if you closed out early, fuck you.